Okay, there is definitely something very strange going on with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2's development. This is the highly anticipated sequel to the classic vampire RPG series, and you may recall, if you have been following news of the game, that back in August 10th, 2020, the folks developing the game and the publisher, that would be Hardsuit Labs and Paradox, respectively, announced that they would be delaying the game to 2021. So here's what the official Vampire the Masquerade Twitter page tweeted. Today we have an important announcement in regards to the release date of Bloodlines 2. Clicking on this image will reveal their full statement. We are moving the launch of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 to 2021. Our goal has always been to deliver the best game possible to immerse you into a Seattle reimagined in the world of darkness and deliver a worthy successor to the original Bloodlines game. Due to the quality bar and ambitions we have set for ourselves, we have made the difficult decision that we need more time. This means that our goal to release in 2020 is no longer possible. Moving launch is one of the changes we are making to ensure the best player experience possible. This is not a decision taken lightly, nor is it the first option we considered. We will share more information in the coming months on launch timing and other organizational changes that will help us achieve this goal. Now, this right here stuck out to a lot of people. Organizational changes, what does that mean and what's going on within the studio? The statement finally concludes with, we understand that this will be a disappointment to many of you, but we also appreciate how our ambition is echoed through many parts of the community. We hope you understand that, while difficult, this is the right call. We thank you all for your patience while we continue to build Bloodlines 2. Andy Kipling from Hardsuit Labs and Jacob Month from Paradox Interactive. So at the time, while people wondered exactly what they meant by organizational changes, and while there was some disappointment surrounding the delay, as is the case with any delay, generally people welcome this, a developer delaying a game so that they could meet a certain quality bar, so that they could release the best game possible in an adequate and polished state. People were on board for this, but fast forward to today, August 19th, 2020, and something rather bizarre has happened. I'd like to begin by reading you this statement posted on the official Bloodlines 2 website, which reads, Hi everyone, Paradox Interactive and Hardsuit Labs have some important updates to share today. We recently shared that we were making some organizational changes to the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 team. As promised, we will now give an update on what that means. Lead narrative designer Brian Mitsoda and creative director Kai Clooney are no longer part of the team at Hardsuit Labs. This was a joint decision made by the leadership of Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Interactive. So the lead narrative designer and the creative director of this project are being fired while the project is being delayed. Very strange indeed. The statement continues, we appreciate and value the contributions of Brian and Kai, which were instrumental in establishing the game's storyline and dark tone, and have helped to ensure that we are making a true successor to the iconic Bloodlines. We wish them both the best in their future endeavors. With that, we're excited to announce that Alexander Mandrika has come aboard as creative consultant, filling the creative director role for Bloodlines 2, and will help us in the final stages of development. Alexander is committed to following the vision that is in place and successfully bringing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 to the fans. Alexander has been in the industry for more than 20 years and has worked on iconic franchises such as Assassin's Creed, Warhammer 40K, Far Cry, and more. With a long history of shipping excellent franchises, we're excited with what Alexander brings to the game and the world of darkness. These changes to the team are focused on one thing, to bring you the best possible Vampire the Masquerade game. We will share further updates as they occur. We thank you all for understanding. In parallel to this statement provided by developer Hardsuit Labs and publisher Paradox Interactive, Brian Mitsoda released his own statement on what's going on here, and it would seem as though him essentially getting fired and being let go from the company caught him by surprise. So here's what Brian Mitsoda said in a statement to news outlet Rock Paper Shotgun. Until recently, I was the narrative lead on a video game called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 for Hardsuit Labs, being published by Paradox Interactive, which owns 30% of Hardsuit Labs. After almost 5 years' involvement with the studio, I was suddenly terminated on July 16th, 2020. So his termination actually happened a month ago, but it's only now that we're getting an official statement from the developer, publisher, and now from Brian himself. Brian continues that this came as a shock to me is underselling it. I've worked on Bloodlines 2 for almost 5 years. The story and the main cast was initially conceived in my living room. I helped develop the pitch for Hardsuit Labs and helped pitch the project to Paradox in Las Vegas. I've been in charge of the narrative since the beginning, working long days and sometimes weekends to deliver a successor to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and I've never been led to believe that I hadn't succeeded. Very obviously, I've also been involved in the PR and marketing side of things, even though it was one of the most difficult parts for me. I'm a pretty private person. Press and crowds tend to heavily trigger my social anxiety, which, if you've ever wondered about the gloves, they are armor that make me feel less exposed in situations that trigger my anxiety. Bloodlines and the fandom of the game mean the world to me, so I lent my legacy with the franchise, my name, and my participation in marketing efforts for the game, even when it was intensely difficult and took a mental and physical toll. This is all because I wanted to do what was best for the game and the team. The pride in the work, the fan expectations, and the support from coworkers who started out as fans kept me going through the long 5 years. And I'm incredibly disappointed and frustrated to say that this is where it ends for me on the project. I was not part of the conversations that led to the decision to delay production. And to my knowledge, there were no delays caused by Bloodlines to narrative development. I am confident and proud of the work that I and my team put forward. When that work will be seen and what form it will take is unknown to me. It was a pleasure to work on this game and with many people at Hardsuit Labs and Paradox, and I'm sorry I won't be able to see it to the end. I spent years on some of the best characters and dialogue that I ever wrote. It's meant a lot to hear from the Bloodlines community, and I do hope that what's finally delivered is as satisfying as I intended it to be. Thanks to all of you who supported me throughout the project. So the implication here is that Brian Mitsoda was completely blindsided by all of this. They didn't really explain to him why he was fired. They never gave Brian the impression that the folks at Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Interactive thought Brian was doing a bad job. Brian seemingly played a huge role in both the conceptualization of the game and the marketing of the title, and just the overall development of the project. For a company to just suddenly fire him out of the blue without providing an explanation is certainly suspect. Now, I don't want to take a side until the full story reveals itself, but it is very suspicious to me that Paradox Interactive is being so coy about why they actually fired the lead narrative designer Brian Mitsoda and creative director Kai. All they say in this statement is, "We appreciate their hard work," without providing any sort of clarification. Is there something else going on that we don't know about? Hard to say for sure, but Brian Mitsoda seems to have no clue why he was suddenly let go. The firing of Brian Mitsoda is particularly a big deal because he was a lead writer on the original Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines at Troika Games, and his presence on the development team for its sequel lent the project credibility. So the fact that Mitsoda was returning in the sequel to Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines was a big part of the appeal of this title for a lot of fans, and so that's why the folks over at Hardsuit Labs and Paradox used them as a big part of the marketing campaign for the title. As Rock Paper Shotgun points out, most of the Bloodline 2's marketing has put Mitsoda front and center, both in trailers and at events. If Mitsoda's statement is to be believed, it sounds like Mitsoda was milked for all he's worth and then just kind of cast aside and thrown away. This is a strange situation indeed, and it gives off the impression that Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is in some kind of development hell, or that there's trouble in paradise. that development isn't going as smoothly as they'd like us to believe. And based on the developer and publisher not providing any reasoning as to why Mitsoda and Kai Clooney were fired, with them keeping their cards close to their chest, they kind of give off the impression that they have something to hide. It's abnormal enough that two very key people in a project were fired mid-development of a video game, the lead narrative designer and the creative director. That is already very much out of the ordinary, but for Mitsoda, who is an especially key figure in this project, given his involvement in the original title, for him to put out a statement like this saying, I don't know what the heck is going on, I don't know what I did to deserve this, I've contributed a lot to this project, and I'm being let go for seemingly no reason. This is certainly unprecedented. I don't know what to fully make of all of this, except that it certainly makes me very concerned about the project as a whole. There is no scenario where something like this happens and things are going smoothly behind the scenes. This certainly gives off the impression that something's very off about the development of Bloodlines 2, and it certainly lowers my confidence in the final product, though only time will tell. No doubt there will be people who will dig into this and will potentially find out more about what might have happened behind the scenes in the not-so-distant future. But until then, I'll leave the video at that. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on these recent developments surrounding Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. What your thoughts are on the statements provided by Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Interactive and Brian Mitsoda himself. Drop a comment, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.